What is going on, Hive Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about weight loss completely stopping while doing intermittent fasting. Is intermittent fasting simply just not working for you anymore? Now, I've touched on this in a video back in 2018, but I want to elaborate a little bit more on this and add some more information so that it can help you break through that plateau. I'm going to go ahead and break it down in this video. Stay tuned. Alright guys, quickly before we start, finally, the jump ropes are back in stock. Yes, the Fledge Fitness jump rope are available, ready to ship right now. If you pre-order the jump ropes, all of the pre-orders have been sent out and you should be receiving it very, very soon. And with its ergonomic design, aluminum handle, and swivel design, you can't go wrong with the Fledge Fitness jump rope. You can get yours now by clicking on the top right-hand corner of this video or down in the description box below. And as always guys, thank you for your support. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Okay, so let's just get a few things out of the way, because the thing with weight loss is that many people don't understand how it actually works and how much is behind weight loss or weight gain. So I do want to explain this part just for a bit so you understand that dynamic. And then maybe that could already just answer your question. And then I'll touch on some things that could be preventing you from continuing to lose body fat or lose weight. So first things first, let me reiterate something that I always talk about when it comes to weight loss, is the scale is just too one-dimensional. There's so many other things that are going on that the scale isn't telling you. It's simply just telling you, you weigh this much at this specific time. Now it's taking into account everything: fat mass, lean tissue, bone mass, water weight, glycogen buildup, the food that's in your stomach. All of these things are being put into this number on the scale, and that can completely throw you off and tell you a number that is misleading. It could be misleading in a positive way, and it could be misleading in a negative way. And with that out of the way, I also want to let you know that whenever you are starting any type of a weight loss program or diet or protocol, that initial weight loss is going to be much more impactful than the velocity of your weight loss after that initial impact zone where you just started to lose weight. Now you have a seismic shift in your routine. You went from not dieting, eating as much as you like, doing whatever you want, to having some sort of a system. And because you did this drastic change, you can see drastic change on the scale. A lot of it is going to be water weight, some of it is going to be body fat, but because there's this combination of water weight, glycogen reduction, and some body fat loss, you're going to see big changes on the scale initially, but this will come to a halt eventually. And it isn't because you're doing intermittent fasting or doing any other protocol. It's simply because of the dynamics of weight loss when it comes to your body and how many different things can reflect off of that scale. So I want you to understand that you might not be on a fat loss plateau. You might just have a higher level of water retention and it's offsetting the number. You may have been losing a lot of water in the beginning. Now you're not losing a lot of water because maybe you're not drinking enough water, or maybe the sodium content that you're consuming throughout the day is so high. These are things that you need to understand. It's not black and white. That scale is not going to tell you a one-for-one body fat analysis of how much body fat you have on you. Now, if you want to get more specific in terms of targeting body fat, you want to look at body fat calipers, things that can tell you the measurement of the body fat percentage that you have versus your weight. And that way you can get more of an idea and you can see if that body fat percentage is reducing over time. Another thing that you want to look at is images. What did your photos look like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago versus now? How do you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror versus now? How many striations do you see? Are you starting to see a formation of abs in the upper torso? Are there some slight cuts in your arms and chest that you didn't see before? These are indicators of fat loss. When you put on your pants that were previously tighter on you, do they feel more loose on the leg area, in the waist area? If you're using a belt and you're putting it on, are you going further notches down just to get a tighter grip on your waist? These are little things you can actually do to see if you've lost body fat. And if those things are changing, you have indeed lost body fat, even if the scale is not telling you that. Now let's dive into some things that could actually cause you to be at a plateau. Now I want to mention that yes, intermittent fasting is powerful, but calories always matter, and calories is the primary driver for weight loss. So anybody who's about to go in the comment section and be like, nah, I do intermittent fasting because calories don't matter. The multitude of people coming on here saying they've tried intermittent fasting, lost weight initially, now they're stuck, and they've been stuck for a good amount of time, a month and a half. This is an anecdotal indication that calories matter. For you, you might be experiencing something different because the way you've set everything up puts you at a caloric deficit, but maybe others were in a caloric deficit and they aren't now, and I'm going to explain how this can happen to you. For one, many studies show that when people just taste things here and there, they never account for those things in their caloric budget for the day. And they think that it doesn't really matter. I just had a scoop of peanut butter when I was making peanut butter. I'm not gonna count that. I just had a few chips when I was driving. I'm not gonna count that. My girlfriend just gave me some fries while I was in the car. I'm not gonna count that. I had a cracker or two. Are you kidding me? I'm not gonna count that. I had some macadamia nuts before I went to sleep. I'm not gonna count that. All of these things start to pile up and then become 400, 500 calories on a daily basis additional that you're not accounting for, and that can actually derail everything you're doing. And trust me, it's not to say that you are lying about your calorie intake. It's just that psychological studies show over and over again that people do not even recall eating these things. For example, when you eat in a car, it's almost never recalled. Almost never. For some reason, it just doesn't appear to be eventful in your memory, so you just don't even account for that calorie intake. So really logging every single thing that goes into your mouth and being more cautious with eating something here, eating something there, that could be the difference, especially if you're losing weight initially and then there's a halt. Because now moving on to what else can cause this plateau is that as you reduce body weight, your body requires less energy. You're moving less weight around. Your body now requires less energy. So what you did before to get you to a specific weight might not be working anymore because you got to do a little bit more. Now, to bounce off of that understanding, many people do what's called compensatory inactivity. So if you do something that is incredibly active, you psych yourself out to basically do nothing after that, to completely relax because you felt accomplished already because of what activity you did. So if you go to the gym, for example, and you do these high intensity cardio workouts and you feel great, you get home, you lay down in the couch, you turn on the TV, you don't move, you take 3, 4, 5 naps, barely do anything, you're always sitting around, you're not doing nothing, and you feel that you've done your duty for the day because you've done your cardio. So that's your activity for the day. So you then compensate for the fact that you did that activity with an overcorrection of inactivity. This will start to counterbalance all of these extra activities that you're doing, all of this cardio and workouts, and cause you to possibly hit a stall. So you have to take that into effect. Take the stairs instead of the elevator if you normally would have done it regardless of your fitness activity. Take that walk, do some yard work, whatever it is, try to get out there and still be active when you're in your normal daily routines. It's important. Don't compensate for the activity with overcorrecting your inactivity. It's going to balance out negatively against you. Another thing that can cause you to stall when doing intermittent fasting is when you're going to the gym and you're doing workouts and you start to skip workouts. And you think that just because you punched in and went to the gym that you still did what you needed to do because you showed up. No, you have to make sure that you aren't reducing your activity in the gym itself. If you do bench pressing and deadlifts and squats and pull-ups and that's part of your routine, don't start to skip them just to kind of speed up the process because you're bored. If you feel bored, you need to start trying to incorporate different variations to your workout. But you don't want to skip any of those things because that is reducing more energy expenditure. And on top of that, we go back to the metabolic adaptation of simply losing weight and having less weight on you. One thing that's a primary driver of your metabolic rate is muscle. So you don't want to cheat yourself out of your workouts from building muscle. And if you just started working out, you have a very high possibility of building muscle while losing body fat, which can also contribute to you being misled by the scale. Because you may be growing muscle at a fairly quick rate because you're new to going to the gym, or you haven't gone in a while and now you've gone again, and losing body fat. But the good thing is that you're keeping this steady weight on you but reducing body fat. That's really, really important because it helps drive your metabolic rate and help fend off metabolic adaptation for as long as you can. You're still keeping that weight that you have to move around, but you're keeping it with muscle as opposed to body fat. And if this is happening, then you're on the right track, which is why I'm telling you to measure body fat separate from just your weight. Another element can be not getting enough sleep, because sleep is incredibly important, and there have been multitudes of studies that show that because you're not sleeping, your leptin is decreased, so you can easily end up eating more than you normally do, especially if you're not counting your calories. And stress level hormones are increased that actually work against you, like chronic cortisol levels that can actually hold weight on your body. So you want to get a good amount of sleep. Up to 7 hours is ideal. And the final element that could be affecting your plateau is alcohol consumption. Now, I'm not saying that you can't consume alcohol. You can, but do it sparingly and lightly when you actually consume alcohol, because you have to understand that alcohol is an energy substrate. Ethanol does provide an energy source separate from the macronutrients, separate from protein, separate from carbs, separate from fats. It has its own energy substrate in your body that your body cannot store. So because your body cannot store it, it will preference that before anything else, before body fat, before anything, to release as energy. Once it gets through all of the alcohol in the system, then it'll start moving on to your body fat. So if you're drinking every single day and drinking aggressively, you could be possibly derailing your entire weight loss process. If you drink, you want to drink lightly, and you don't want to do it all the time. Also, a study conducted in the Journal of Obesity in June 2015 by William Ehler and colleagues, that those who drink alcohol versus those who do not drink alcohol tend to eat more due to an increased activity in the brain region that mediates reward and regulates feeding behavior. This increases when you consume alcohol. And the way the study did this was by taking two groups and giving them saline. One saline had a small percentage of alcohol in it, one did not. The one that did not have the alcohol was a placebo. Both of the groups did not know which one had alcohol and which one did not. But the group that consumed the alcohol ate 30% more. So it's another kind of system where your brain is working against you to eat more. So you have to take that into account. Alcohol is fine, but use it sparingly because it can work against you. Now, if you made it to the end of this video and you're thinking to yourself, then what is the point of me even doing intermittent fasting if I can just do all of these things with restricting calories? Intermittent fasting, for one, when given the opportunity to eat as much as you like, as shown in many of the studies, the group that does intermittent fasting versus the control group, which doesn't do intermittent fasting, the intermittent fasting group, when eating ad libitum, which means that the researchers just allow them to eat as much as they like, the intermittent fasting group almost always eats less than the control group. So those invisible walls that are created from eating windows and fasting windows actually help prevent you from overeating. And this has been seen in study after study after study. But one of the more interesting facts of intermittent fasting is that when calorie is controlled and protein is equated, and it is an isocaloric system with a control group and even randomized crossover designs in the study, the intermittent fasting group burns more body fat. Even though the weight loss tends to be in tandem, the body fat is more prominent and more significant in the intermittent fasting group. That is because of the metabolic switchover that takes place from 8 to 12 hours. This is when you are in that post-absorptive range. The body no longer has carbohydrate energy because the glycogen energy has completely been used up. Your insulin has dropped to baseline, and because of the lack of glucose, your body switches to ketones, and ketones derive from fatty tissue. So you basically are burning body fat at this point. That is why people who do intermittent fasting versus people who don't in these control studies, this is still seen. So the benefit of intermittent fasting is the tackling of the body fat as opposed to just doing caloric restriction. So I hope this video has helped you guys. And of course, as always, I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon. I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here.